UWI faces backlash over the cost students pay to live on new halls. Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on air and online at onespotmedia.com. I'm Janella Precious.
And I'm Doreen Samuels. Also this evening, redundant merger to cause job cuts at educational institutions.
Get the permit. Health Ministry warns of prosecution if home burials do not get the go-ahead.
Hunted. The police go after man accused of attempting to kill his spouse today.
Keep calm. Jamaicans told not to panic over U.S. President's order on immigrants.
In the business day launched, JN Bank takes off after 8 years of preparation.
There's also the health report, sports commentary, sports and weather in this newscast. But before the break, the feedback question.
What can parents do to ensure their children are not involved in criminal activities?
You can share comments online, facebook.com/Television Jamaica, and tweet us at Television Jam.
Stay with us. Primetime News returns after this break.
Welcome back to Primetime News. A special welcome again to the folks on onespotmedia.com.
A reminder as well that you can download our One Spot Media app in the Google Play Store or the App Store. That's the number 1 followed by the word Spot and Media.
The government-subsidized University of the West Indies Mona campus has found itself at the center of outrage because of a housing plan some people say is making it harder and harder for students to afford to live there.
The university is working with a company called 138 Student Living to build new halls. It's even knocking down old student houses to build new ones.
But some students complain that the hall fees are exorbitant because it means that in a year, some pay more for housing than their education.
But the university principal says it's capitalism at work. TVJ's Giovanni Dennis reports.
This is one of the new halls 138 Student Living has put up at the UWI Mona campus. Modern buildings that will replace the halls that have existed there for decades. And the price tag for those who want to live here, $395 per month. The Jamaican equivalent, $50,560. That works out to more than $500,000 a year, almost 3 times what students on the older halls have to pay. The Student Guild President, Michaela Gonzalez, says that the fees are way too high.
Students right now, I can tell you, I've been all of last week battling with students who cannot even afford to start a payment plan. So yes, there's the option of a payment plan, but you have to make a down payment. And my students cannot even afford to make the down payment to start the payment plan. And they simply cannot afford the cost of accommodations.
But the new halls weren't meant for students like Michaela. At least not according to former Deputy Principal of the University, Joseph Pereira. The original plan was for the new halls to target international students.
This is very steep for anybody, much less university students. So although it was predicated when it was originally conceptualized on bringing in students from overseas who could afford it, because there were suggestions of getting in more medical students from various international sources.
That has not materialized. Hence,
what has happened is that now perhaps there are more rooms built and contracted by the university than can be filled. So there is a challenge there. But the price of the rooms is really the problem. It's prohibitive.
The university's principal, Professor Archibald MacDonald, accepts that the hall fees are indeed expensive, but he says there is a waiting list of students who want to live there. He also says,
what we're doing is developing an alternative funding arrangement for tertiary education in Jamaica and hopefully the Caribbean that will benefit the people, the Jamaican people. Especially, strangely enough, yes, it is capitalism. I say to my colleagues, this is capitalism in action.
Clearly, you're saying to me that the students who don't have the money and the students who are not rich do not deserve a chance at an university opportunity.
But although students are already struggling to meet the demand of paying for traditional hall fees, the university is moving to replace most traditional halls with the new 138 student structures. For instance, Irving Hall has already been demolished, and if things go according to plan,
we will attempt to rebuild Taylor Hall as well as Chancellor Hall. You know, there's a lot of sentimental reasons.
I think it's unfortunate that there is the suggestion that the old hall should be demolished and these similar structures built, partly because of the pricing factor.
But the guild president is adamant that students are gearing up to fight this move.
And I can tell you now that the students, not only of Taylor Hall, who is alleged to be next chancellor, all other halls, they're saying that if it is a protest that needs to happen, whatever drastic measure it is that needs to happen for administration to hear them, for Jamaica to hear them.
Giovanni Dennis, TVJ News.
Education Minister Senator Ruel Reid wants more information on the situation at the St. Thomas Technical High School, which involved an ancillary worker and 2 male students. Reports said that on Monday, the 3 were involved in an altercation at the school. TVJ's Vashon Brown reports.
The Education Minister, who was speaking Wednesday morning at the post-cabinet media briefing, indicated that there seems to be a management breakdown at the school. Mr. Reid has asked his team to get further particulars from the school's management, including the board on the issue.
When I hear about the prevalence of gang-type activities in a school, it is telling me that the management of the school itself has fallen down. I've had, as a principal, to have been able to deal with discipline in school and security in school, so I can talk from a practical point of view that you have to be proactive and bring the matter on the management. So I'm going to be asking to have a discussion with the leadership of the school and whatever support they need to bring the matter of discipline under control.
He says it's an area he has taken particular interest in.
And I just think that there are some management gaps from the reports that I have received that we need to intervene and strengthen those capabilities.
Meanwhile, charges have been laid against the ancillary worker and the 2 male students who were involved in the altercation. 27-year-old Kadeen Henry and the students have been charged with assault occasioning bodily harm. Mr. Henry will face the St. Thomas Parish Court on February 15, while the 2 boys will face the court on February 23. A statement from the ministry yesterday said the incident was captured on the school's surveillance camera. Teachers at the school staged a sit-in yesterday to protest the incident. This led to classes being suspended. Vashon Brown, TVJ News.
Also emerging from today's post-cabinet press briefing, Mr. Reid says job losses are a possibility with the pending merger of 3 educational entities. He confirmed that the Heart Trust NTA, National Youth Service, and the Jamaica Foundation for Lifelong Learning are to be merged. The Education Minister says as it now stands, there is significant duplication in the work of the 3 entities. He said the move will allow for the reallocation of resources where needed.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church in Jamaica has condemned what it has described as unlawful sexual behavior or abuse against minors. The church's statement this afternoon comes against the background of last night's arrest of one of its members for allegedly having sex with a girl under 16 years old. The man is identified by the organization as an elder of the Haywood Hall Adventist Church in St. Mary. The arrest of the elder by the Port Maria police follows statements collected by the Center for the Investigation of Sexual Offences and Child Abuse, CISOCA, from a 14-year-old girl.
Meanwhile, former president and vice president of the Moravian Church in Jamaica, 54-year-old Paul Gardner and 36-year-old Jermaine Gibson are expected to return to the Manchester Parish Court on February 8 after the case against them was mentioned today. The pastors were charged with carnal abuse and indecent assault. Attorney at law Peter Champagny, representing Mr. Gardner, says his client is maintaining his innocence.
The matters before the court. We don't wish to speak about it any further. We know the antiquity of the complaint a decade and a half ago, but as I said before, he maintains his innocence and we are confident that he will be vindicated in court. We have nothing further to say.
Both men had their $300,000 bail extended. They're accused of incidents which allegedly took place in 2002.
With an increase in the number of home burials across the island due to the dwindling cemetery spaces, Director of Environmental Health in the Ministry of Health, Everton Baker, is warning persons to get the proper home burial approvals or else they will be prosecuted. Mr. Baker also raised concerns about the environmental impact which can result from unapproved home burials. TVJ's Shamela Mitchell reports.
Depending on the parish, the Ministry of Health is reporting at least 7 home burials per week which are approved. Other home burials take place, but they are not approved. This is why Director of Environmental Health in the Ministry of Health, Everton Baker, is raising concerns. According to Mr. Baker, the environmental impact can affect public health. Take, for example, the water table. Mr. Baker says if the water table is too high, then burials at home can cause contamination.
Once you're going to bury, you have to be a certain distance away from water supplies like rivers and streams and so. And if the area has a high water table, then we would not recommend that burial takes place, because sometimes people are doing the grave and they meet water within 3 feet. So we want to ensure that where you're going to place those graves, there's no compromise at the water table.
The location of the burial site is also critical. If the topography is high and the soil is soft, then that could be a recipe for disaster.
We have seen it when we had some hurricanes in the past, some hurricane where graves, based on where they were located, they were washed out, and some because of land slippage, they came down from where they were.
Which what area would this be?
Well, I've seen that in Bull Bay some time ago. In I think it's 7 miles. Some years ago, we have seen situation like that.
Currently, there are 3 pieces of legislation providing guidance for home burials: the Burial Within Towns Limits Act, the Public Cemetery Management and Regulation Act, and the Kingston and St. Andrews Cemeteries Act. If there's a breach, then persons could get themselves into trouble.
The law was amended. The Public Management, Cemeteries and Regulation Act was updated in 1995, and that has not just a fine of $10,000, but it has a imprisonment of 6 months as well attached to that fine.
Shamela Mitchell, TVJ News.
Our top story today: the UWI faces backlash over the cost students have to pay to live on new halls. Still ahead, police search for a man who attempted to kill his spouse today. And in the business day, Jamaica National Bank is launched.
Welcome back. Continuing the news. Information Minister Senator Ruel Reid has called on Jamaicans to remain calm as the Jamaican government is on top of the situation in the United States following last Friday's immigration ban issued by U.S. President Donald Trump. Mr. Reid, while acknowledging the concerns being expressed by Jamaicans, believes the matter should not be escalated.
As far as we're concerned, there's no more information that is already out there, that there's no direct impact on Jamaica at the moment. I don't think we should escalate and have panic. I think the government is aware of the concern. We're on top of it. We're talking to our key partners within the State Department and so on, just to monitor, and across the diaspora. So I would say, stay calm. This government tries to stay on top of everything, and we will be making ourselves available, as we continue to do, to communicate if there are any issues that we think warrant public disclosure information.
The police are searching for a man who allegedly tried to kill his spouse in 7 Miles Bull Bay, St. Andrew on Wednesday morning. The woman, who barely escaped, shared her story with TVJ's Herman Green.
Judith Robinson and her spouse have been in a relationship for just over a year, but she says all that ended this morning when he tried to slash her throat sometime after 2 o'clock in a rage of jealousy. Ms. Robinson explains that he was jealous of her friendship with another man and threatened to kill her. That's when she decided to end the relationship.
I said to him, say, Chris, you're supposed to know what time it is. It's either you leave by free will or you're going to leave by force will. Come, you're going to get the police now involved. He said to me, said, well, him no matter what me want to do, but him love, and anybody him find out say me along with him go kill me. That's what him said.
On Tuesday night, she said he promised he would leave Wednesday morning. But then, while she was asleep, he attacked her.
I was lying on my belly and he come on top of my back and cover my mouth. And then when he was cover my mouth, him start pull back my head backwards and then have the knife a cut across my throat.
In a desperate attempt to save her life, she said she screamed for help while trying to fight him off her.
I held on to his hand with the knife in it and hold the blade of the knife. So that is when I get the cut across with my hand.
Did you call for help?
Yes, I got shout out from my neighbor Katie, and she and her spouse rushed come to my rescue.
Her neighbors took her to the Harborview police, who took her to the Kingston Public Hospital, where she was treated and released. But her drama did not end there. She went back to the police station to give an official report.
There I was when my neighbor get a phone call that the house was on fire, and then I not even finished giving the report. I just rushed right out and head right here where I find out that the place was engulfed with fire.
The fire brigade put out the blaze, but not before all her belongings were destroyed. In light of the frequency of lethal domestic disputes, her neighbors are livid. But Miss Robinson, happy to be alive, is warning other women.
Just take time out to know whoever they're getting involved with. To be more careful, get to know the person more. That's it.
Herman Green, TVJ News.
The police are indicating that they have a hold on extortion. Assistant Commissioner of Police Clifford Chambers made the revelation as he addressed the Small Business Association of Jamaica on Tuesday evening.
The impact of crime on small business, a problem which has forced some owners to shut their doors, a major issue being extortion. Firms pay extortionists big bucks to avoid being targeted.
The more complicated form of extortion that we have encountered is when the so-called leader, I don't like to use the term Don, but we can refer to them, in some communities demand that residents in their locale be placed on the payroll of some firms. In contrast, we do have cases of protection rackets where the persons or group receiving the payment provide a perceived perception of the entity and therefore appear as if they're effective, but they're not.
But ACP Blake, pointing to data from police intelligence, says there's a glimmer of hope. He revealed a decline in extortion levels based on one major factor.
The records show that criminal gangs, their numbers have reduced from 262 in 2015 to 258 in 2016. The National Strategic Anti-Gang Unit, which is a unit within the Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Investigation Branch, has been making steady strides in the anti-gang effort and has positively impacted 20 gangs.
He's imploring small businesses to ensure proper vetting of employees and to know and understand the areas the business is located. The police can be called upon to do a security and risk analysis of the location. In terms of investing in high-tech security measures, ACP Blake had one concern.
CCTV with very good megapixel, we would encourage that. We have had instances where we have done investigation. My cybercrime unit receive CC footing, and when they're doing the analysis, we realize that the quality is poor and add no value to the investigation.
Meanwhile, ACP Blake pointed to a recent survey of 400 businesses, with 65% reporting they have experienced criminal victimization. 33% had suffered from violent victimization, which included robbery, and 52% said they suffered from theft.
Crime fighters and stakeholders in Granville St. James are moving swiftly to prevent an increase in murders in the community. Last year, 6 murders were recorded in Granville, but criminals seem intent on surpassing that figure in 2017. We have the details from TVJ's Andrea Chisholm.
The St. James Police Division recorded the most murders in 2016, 268. The community of Granville recorded 6 of those murders, 6 too many for Senior Superintendent Marlon Nesbeth, who has picked up a worrying trend.
Since the year started, for the Granville police area, we have already had 4. Right. Now, and 3 of them are interlinked, coming, with that type of background to it, from the same people involved. Now that must stop.
Part of the problem, based on his assessment, is the migration of criminals to Granville.
And I'm going to mash up your place because guess what? They have baggage. And the baggage that they have is that they hurt so much people where they are from and other places that if they come here and you put them up, are you near where they are put up? When they come, then shoot everybody. You don't want that to happen to you.
And so he's urging residents to help solve crimes by telling the police what they know. Stakeholders are working to get all residents to participate. Forget February being the month for love in the traditional sense. For Granville, the month is dubbed Crime-Free February. Pastors are urged to get on board by preaching a particular gospel.
Change your sermon to Crime-Free February. Make the sermon be a sermon of love and get together and start to preach that for this month we are trying to achieve it.
The police will be working with residents to increase social intervention programs to strengthen relationships in the community. One resident spoke of Granville's strategic location, adding that the area can become a business hub for investors.
But they are not going to take us if they hear a gunshot in the fire in Granville. They are not going to employ our young people if they hear say them a scammer. So they're not going to take us in the business process, outsourcing business. And they're not going to employ us in the hotel industry. So we need to create opportunities for our people.
Andrea Chisholm, TVJ News.
Jamaica's push to build a new power plant to stabilize and reduce electricity prices was set in motion today. That as the JPS and an engineering company signed a deal to start the work. Dashan Hendricks reports.
A new power plant to replace the antique one in Old Harbour St. Catherine has long been talked about, but after many false dawns, it's now about to happen.
Yes, this is really a physical symbol that we are now ready to build this power plant, and we're excited about it.
JPS, through its newly created subsidiary, Southern Jamaica Power Company, signed a deal with Spain-based TSK Grupo to build a $300 million power plant. It will use liquefied natural gas, LNG, as its chief fuel source, replacing heavy fuel oil to bring stability to the price of electricity in Jamaica.
And it fulfills one of our pillars of fuel diversity, thank you, smart grid, customer solutions, and nation.
And in news just in, a 15-year-old girl who was reported missing in St. James on Sunday has been found dead. She has been identified as Shanika Gray of Mount Salem in Montego Bay. She attended Green Pond High School. We have more in subsequent newscasts. A reminder that our current affairs program All Angles is live at 8:30 this evening, and Dion Jackson-Miller is here with a preview. Dion?
Thank you so much, Doreen. You know, there are a couple of issues that unify Jamaicans, and one of them is the issue of high bank fees and bank charges. Well, MP Fitzjackson has been championing that issue. The private sector is fighting back. We're talking about that at 8:30, right after primetime news. Right now, it's back to you.
Thank you, Dion. And Janella is at the smartboard with our comments.
Thank you very much, Doreen. Here's what we've been asking our folks on Facebook and Twitter. What can parents do to ensure their children are not involved in criminal activities? Marsha Lewis says, OMG, that's a tough one. Well, teach them about God, how to walk in his footsteps, and ask God to guide them, because only God can help them. Delisa Thomas says, grow them the way we 90s and 80s kids were grown. We were not adults before our time. Too many young people living adult life before they know what adult life is. Another one here from Tevin Johnson, who says, have the dinner table in the living room, talk with your children, accompany them to school if they can, ask about how they spend the day, and ask them what is bothering them. And our final comment is from Darren Miles, who says, education and church. Keep those comments coming on Facebook and Twitter. The Business Day.
A very good evening to you and welcome to the Business Day. I'm Dwayne Burbick. The Jamaica National Bank is now a reality after 8 years of preparation. The bank was opened today by its leaders. Dashan Hendricks reports.
The red carpet was rolled out in Halfway Tree St. Andrew on Wednesday morning, an old building being rededicated before ribbons were cut. This is a new era for the 142-year-old Jamaica National.
This morning at 12:01, Jamaica National Building Society was converted into Jane Bank
This will be the 7th bank in Jamaica and one of 2 new banks expected to start operating this year. It is one with an unusual structure.
We have ensured and kept in an almost unique manner in Jamaica the mutuality of the organization. And that means that the people that own this are the people that will operate accounts.
Maureen Hayden Cater will head this new bank.
We are going to be revolutionizing banking in Jamaica.
JN Bank debuts as the 3rd largest in the island, behind only NCB and Scotiabank, usurping Sagicor Bank. Despite its size, Ms. Cater says Jamaica National Bank will be different from its competitors.
We'll offer you reasonable interest rates, and of course, we're going to be charging lower fees.
For the Business Day, I am Dashan Hendricks.
The price of gasoline is to fall for a 9th straight week. Petrojam has cut the price of the fuel by a cent. The price of regular diesel, however, goes up by 96 cents, while low sulfur diesel increases by 93 cents. Kerosene will cost 92 cents more per litre. Propane is up $1.50, while butane increases by $1.89. And the price of oil settled at its highest settlement in more than 3 weeks on Wednesday. Oil for delivery in March rose $1.07 to settle at $53.88 a barrel. It is the highest settlement for oil since January 6. Currency trading ended today with the US dollar selling for $128.15. The Canadian dollar sells for $96.99. The pound sterling is going for $160.78, while the euro costs $138.46. Gains in financial stocks continue to push the main JSE market index into new record territory, with the index advancing by 3,493 points to close at 215,340 points, while the junior market index gained more than 24. The winners of the day included AMG Packaging and Paper, Consolidated Bakeries, General Accident, Jamaica Producers, Key Insurance, Lasca Distributors, Mayberry Investments, Panjam, Proven Investments, the Sagicor Group, Scotia Investments, and T-Tech. On the losing end were 1834 Investments, Blue Power, Carib Cement, Carreras, Jamaica Brawlers, Jamaican Teas, Medical Disposables and Supplies, Radio Jamaica, and Sterling Investments. And that's your Business Day. I'm Dwayne Burbick. Good evening.